Hey guys, I'm glad you're with me tonight. Today is a beautiful day, and I hope that you got to go outside for a little while. If you did, I'm sure you can see that fall is here. The leaves are just starting to turn, and this morning there was just a hint of cool in the air. You know, when the seasons change, I am always reminded of how great God's world is and how great He is to have made such a fascinating world. Tomorrow, if it is as pretty as it is today, let me challenge you to go on a hunt. Go hunting and take a close look at the world around you and see how God made it and how the world is changing and God allows it to change. You know, if you do this, you'll be doing something that Solomon did. Solomon, who we've been talking about the last couple of weeks, looked carefully at the world that God made and the people that God made, and he wrote a lot down about what he discovered. What's really cool about that is that if we read what Solomon wrote down and listen to it and do it, then we can become wise like Solomon. Last week, I read through the book of Proverbs, and as I was reading through, something in chapter 3 really grabbed my attention. So tonight, I'm going to read several verses to you from that chapter, and then I'm going to ask you some questions, and then there's 2 verses that I want us to do something with. So let me open my Bible. This came from Proverbs chapter 3. So I'm going to read a little bit and then ask you a verse. And I know that I'm not with you and can't hear your answers, but I want you to go ahead and answer the questions out loud. Can you do that? Good. Okay, this starting in verse 1. My child, never forget the things I've taught you. Store my commands in your heart. What is it that God didn't want us to forget? Think about that. He didn't want us to forget what He had taught us, did He? And where did He want us to put those commands? In our heart. That's right. Verse 2, if you do this, you will live many years and your life will be satisfying. If we don't forget what God teaches us, what can we expect? We can expect to live a long life that's very satisfying. Now, do you know what satisfying means? It means that it would be a life that you would feel really good about. A satisfied life is one that you feel very good about. So that sounds like it'd be well worth it. Verse 3, never let loyalty and kindness leave you. Tie them around your neck as reminders. Write them deep within your heart. How can we keep from forgetting what God teaches us? By tying them around our necks and writing them on our hearts. Can you do that? Verse 4, then you will find favor with both God and people, and you will earn a good reputation. So, if you live by God's teachings, what will that do for you? Did you know that people and God will think very highly of you? When they see you coming, they'll say good things about you. Now, the last 2 verses are really important, so listen carefully. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek His will in all you do, and He will show you which path to take. See, in those verses, God teaches us to trust Him, to not depend on our own understanding about things, but on His understanding. And if we seek His will, God tells us that He will show us which path to take in life. Those last 2 verses are really, really important. And we've worked on learning them before, but today I want you to work on it again. Let's say them together. I'm going to read it phrase by phrase and you repeat after me. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek His will in all you do, and He will show you which path to take. Those verses came from Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6. So what I want you to do is I want you to find a Bible, one of your mom's or Bibles if you don't have one that has all the verses in it. I want you to get some paper. It can be kind of cardboardy paper or regular paper. You might have to get something harder to stick regular paper on. I want you to get some scissors, something to write with, and if you have a hole punch, get a hole punch, and a string of some sort, a piece of yarn, some twine. This is just an old shoestring. It doesn't really matter, but it's going to be something that you need long enough that when you tie it, you can hang it around your neck. And here's what I want you to do. Now, if you don't read yet, you're going to need your parents to help you. But if you can do this yourself, then I want you to look up Proverbs chapters 3, look for verses 5 and 6. Then I want you to get your paper and cut it into a card. This one's about the size of a index card. So if you have an index card, you can just use an index card. That's what I did. And then what I want you to do is I want you to write that verse down. And Madison wrote this one for me. Again, what does it say? Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek His will in all you do, and He will show you which path to take. Those are really important verses for us to hide in our hearts. So then what I want you to do is I want you to make a hole on one end of your card. And I did it with a hole punch. If you don't have a hole punch, get your mom and dad to poke a hole in it for you. I don't want you to get hurt. Then take your string and run it through the card. Tie your string at the end so that it makes a necklace. And then I want you to put it around your neck. Remember, that's what the verse said. Tie them around your neck as a reminder. I want you to use this as a reminder today. As you're going through the day, stop every once in a while and read it, and then see how much of it you can do by memory. Because once you get where you can do this by memory, you can take it off, because that verse will then be written onto your heart. That's how we write things on our heart, is when we memorize them. So then we don't have to read the card to know what God says. We will just listen to our hearts and let that guide us, right? Guys, it's really, really important that if we want to be wise like Solomon, that we always listen to what God has to say, to keep His teachings, and to do the best we can. So that's our challenge for the week, and work on that. With this, the neat thing about it is you can add other verses to your necklace and keep them tied around your heart, or work on them and hang this on your doorknob and go through the verses at night that you have written down. It's a really good idea. My daughter Madison has a little poster card book, and she writes verses in it and goes through those all the time. You're never too young and you're never too old to work on writing God's Word on your heart. Love you guys. Work at it hard, and I'll see you next week. Bye.